Morning, Ian Quick, Millionaire by 50. Today is Thursday, August 6th, and after yesterday's talk, my wife, she's a brilliant person, always comes up with the most interesting ideas, came up with a really good idea about how to increase my services. Let me backtrack a little bit here. Recently, the government of Ontario has put out their plan for back to school in September. And naturally, there's a lot of people who are concerned, and there will probably be a lot of parents who choose to not send their kids to school. That leaves a large population of kids who have to stay busy in the fall, not just throughout the summer. Parents eventually have to go back to work, and they do have to take care of the education of their child. There are online classes, but anyways, long story short, this was a service targeted towards them. I'm not going to go into details of that service, but it was a really good idea. So naturally, I get excited about it, but I also start to mull it over. Um, you should never reject any idea. I had some initial reflex apprehensions, which are probably based on experience and instinct, but nonetheless, I kept an open mind and I started to explore the positive aspects of this and the benefits it could bring and so forth. And definitely, there was a great idea and someone should do it. Now you hear me say someone should do it, realizing I'm not the one who's going to be doing it. When I got down to the logistics of it, this idea would require an entire production team to work full time. Now, between maintaining my regular business, um, teaching part time at the college, maintaining the household, just general cleaning and house maintenance, as well as other projects that we have on the side in the house, and taking care of my daughter on the days that she's not in daycare. That doesn't leave me a lot of time to do a project that would require essentially a minimum of 4 people working full time. See the problem? I don't look at problems to come up with objections to ideas anymore. I used to sometimes say, I didn't want to do something, you try to talk yourself out of it. So you look at all the problems and go, it's not worth it. I was really ready to not reject this idea, to accept it, to embrace it, to try to figure out how. But sometimes, realistically, the how is just not within our reach. And that's okay. There's going to be people out there who tell you never let anything stop you, find a way to make it work. True, but you have to figure out the payout versus the efforts involved. One, the efforts involved are physically impossible for me to accomplish. So I need to bring in a team. Okay, now bringing in a team, I gotta pay these people. I might be able to convince people to come on board uh, with the expectation of getting paid from profits once profits start rolling in. Although this is a long-term thing. But once you divvy up all the profits, there's very, very little left for all that time and effort versus how my time could be spent doing something that's more profitable and less time consuming. So at this point, you gotta balance it out, and that's okay. Part of being smart with your money, part of being a good investor is knowing when an investment is actually good, when it is not. And sometimes just when it's good for you. Some investments are great for certain people, but not for others. If you were to ask me to invest in high tech, I know nothing about high tech and I can't follow that market and understand what's going on. It would be risky for me. For someone else, They're always on top of that. That's their field. That's their game. They get it. Know when to do it. Know when to quit. Um, I don't like the word quit because quitting implies you haven't tried hard enough. Know when to let go. Know when the investment is not worth it. Know when your time and energy is better spent somewhere else. It's not that it's not a great idea, it is, but it is not an idea that is feasible for me at this time. I always like to add at this time because you never know when your circumstances change. However, this idea is somewhat sensitive to the fact that kids will not be going back to school in September, some of them anyways. So it's a time pressing thing. But nonetheless, the point is recognize when something is worthwhile and when it is not, even if it is a great idea. You'll be much farther along for it. You won't be standing in the pros and cons. Don't just dismiss things. If it really is a great idea and there is some way to make it work, even if it requires effort, that's great. But in this case, I'm just dealing with um, literally logistics of time. It is physically impossible for one person to do all that needs to be done on a regular weekly basis for this, um, given the time constraints that exist. I would have to give everything else up just to do that. And I'm not about to give up a business I've spent decades building. I'm not going to give up my family. I'm not going to give up my daughter. I'm not going to give up my position at the college um, for something that may or may not pay off well. So, anyways, on that note, I am grateful um, to be living with someone who is uh, as creative as my wife is. You know, there will be other times, there will be other ideas out there. That'll be great. And it says your connection is unstable. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Hopefully, this is still reading, and it looks like it's good now. Anyways, I'm grateful my connection works. Um, I'm grateful to have such an amazing woman in my life. I'm grateful for the exercise of thinking about her suggestion yesterday. Because if you remember, recently I spoke about inspiration. You never really know where you find it. It got my brain thinking along certain lines and may inspire something different from what she suggested, but still along those lines of targeting that audience. I'm grateful for what it looks like is going to be another beautiful day and all the opportunities it brings. I'm also grateful that yesterday I managed to book a few more parties. Yay! Anyways, we'll talk to you tomorrow.